but we got 80% better of really severe pain in our unit in 8 hours. And nobody else has been able to pull that off in the country that I know of.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to eShadowing. Hi, I'm Rodalyn, as you all know, and tonight we have Allan Platt. Allan is a physician assistant, of course, but not only that, but he's also a professor and admissions director at Emory University. So we have a lot of questions for Allan, and I'm sure you guys have a ton of questions about the admissions process, and he's here to answer them, and it's going to be a fun-filled night. So we're first going to start off by asking Allan a little bit about himself and his path to becoming a PA. And thank you, Allan, of course, for being here with us
Glad
tonight.
to be here. I started out being a civil engineer, which is totally stupid, and changed my whole path. So this was back in the 70s, and PA had just started, so it was a brand new thing. So it was kind of shaky to start with. I didn't know if this was going to work out or not, but I graduated from Georgia Tech in health systems, and then I only could apply to 2 schools in Georgia, MCG and Emory. And MCG sent me home. They said, "You have no experience, go away." And then I came to my Emory interview, and he said, "You're an engineer." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, you're in." That's the only reason I got into PA school.
Wow.
But that was good. That was good for me. So basically, I graduated from Emory, and I have been practicing for 25 years at Grady Hospital. My main function there was working in sickle cell. We ran a sickle cell emergency room within Grady, the only one in the world, and we staffed it with PAs. So that was kind of fun. And we took care of that whole population for Atlanta and North Georgia, and did a lot of things with the patient population, like clinical research studies. We did all the studies on hydroxyurea, which helps prevent pain crises. Several other studies that were done throughout Atlanta. And so Grady has been good to me. I love Grady Hospital. It's a great place to practice and a great place to learn. That's where our students go. After that, I got the call to do some teaching, and I never thought I'd do that, but I really enjoyed giving lectures. And then I got offered a course, and then they kind of suck you right on in. So I retired from Grady, and I went full-time teaching. So I love the teaching part. So I teach in the school. I teach all the way from the beginning of the first year to the end. So my courses are the medical history and how to do it right. I teach hematology, blood diseases, and I also teach the business side of medicine, how to bill and code and insurance and all that good stuff. So, and I also do admissions on the side. So I am never bored. I keep busy the whole time. So that's kind of my career. I have had no regrets. My wife is a physician, an MD. She went to Emory Med School when I went to PA school. And I think I got better training. She learned everything she learned as an intern and resident. She had to go 4 more years after I graduated, and I had a job. So she had to do a residency, and she practiced as an internal medicine MD here in Atlanta and just retired from the VA medical system. So she's enjoying retired life. And I have 2 daughters. One is a PA and actually is practicing in Dallas, Texas, in dermatology, and loves it. And I have another daughter who's a part of the legal system. Didn't want to do any medicine. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you so much, Allan, for that. That's an amazing story. That's really great, especially since you have so many years of experience, 25 plus years. That's crazy. And I'm sure the profession has changed tremendously when you started in the 70s. But I wanted to ask you, what first struck with me was that you had no experience coming on, you said, right? You were an engineer. You had no healthcare experience.
That's right. I mean, the PA was a brand new thing, and most of the schools were kind of empty, because nobody knew what a PA was. And so really, I was competing with people coming back from the Vietnam War. So a lot of combat medics and things, and I had none of that experience, but I had good book learning. I mean, I could help them study, but they could help me with all the clinical stuff. So, so I was the youngest person in my class. I was like 21 and they were like 30s. So that was unusual, but we all got through it. We all helped each other.
Wow, wow. So I know now it's very different as far as like healthcare experience, and I get this question all the time, especially from non-traditional PA students. How important is having healthcare experience? I know it can vary from school to school, but how important is it as far as getting admitted?
I think it's very important. For Emory, we require 2,000 hours. Well, that's a year of work. And we find that people have such they really decide that they're going into medicine for all the right reasons. Once they've, I say, get your hands dirty. So once you've been in healthcare, you really understand how it works and how, the good side and the bad side. It's hard work. And once you know that, you can survive PA school and come out as a great PA. So that's one of the best predictors, I think, of success, is having really good clinical experience to make sure you really want to do this.
Okay, great. And I completely agree. I always tell them, like, that's one of the 3 most important things as far as your application. How many hours would you recommend that students accrue?
I'd say for Emory, it's 2,000 hours. That's a cutoff for us. So that's a year of work. So I recommend either working through college, and there are some good jobs you can do. One of them scribing, or be an EMT and work shifts and work on your breaks and on weekends, that kind of thing, or take a gap year. And just do a year of practicing as a medical assistant, an EMT, or a scribe, and that will rack up your hours for you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I'm glad that you said scribe, because a lot of schools don't accept scribes, but I'm glad that Emory does, because I think that being a scribe, it's like one of the best ways to get experience, in my opinion. You're seeing everything hands-on, even though you're not, physically touching the patient. You actually see you get those skills, you build those skills as far as like taking a history, doing notes. Like, I think it's great. I don't know why schools don't accept it or aren't as receptive.
Yeah, we do, because you're the best. You see everything, like you said, from the start to the finish. You meet the physicians, PAs, nurse practitioners. You also write the best notes I've ever seen. So my history course, those people shine.
Exactly. Okay, thank you so much for answering that. So, and some people are excited to hear about the work you did in the sickle cell track. So we're going to get to that also. So can you tell us a day in the life of a professor or an admissions director?
I would say it's very variable depending on the day and the season. I work from home. My condo is right across from the school from Emory, so I walk in when I need to go and teach. Otherwise, I'm sitting in my condo. So I work from home. A lot of it's on the internet. It's kind of boring. But basically, it's coming up with lectures and coming up with always reading the latest literature, so you make sure you're teaching the best stuff. And it's interacting with students. So again, since COVID, we've had to go on Zoom for all our lectures. Our labs are in person. So anatomy lab for cadaver dissection, they're actually doing that on campus and have live dissection. And physical exam lab, it's hard to do over Zoom, but yeah, we have lab for that, and people are going in person. But rest of it's all Zoom, so it's keeping that connection but doing it virtual, and that takes time. So you got to set everything up and do that right. So that's life as a professor, is a lot of teaching, a lot of lectures to give, and interacting with students. We do small groups, we do, and teaching to the whole class. But it's also mentoring, so actually helping people get jobs. And yeah, I even talk to my graduates after they've on their third job, whatever, just giving them advice. So it's a lifelong process, and we get to see our students grow, go out and do great things. So that's where all the reward is, to see baby PAs launched and come big, full-grown, excellent PAs doing great things.
Yes, that's great. Okay, so let me see. I think somebody had a question about being, or the admissions process, or they have a lot of questions actually about just, it seems like, applications. Let's see. Someone asked, do you prefer older applicants, like between the ages of 24 to 25 and above, or does it not matter?
It doesn't really matter. It's more, I've seen people who are 21 who are wise as 50. So it's more a sense of you really want to do this and you've got the fire in your belly to do this. Age really doesn't mean much. I'd say the average age of one of our students is 26. So people have been pretty much through college and had a job for a year or two. But we have people all the way from 22 all the way to like 42 in the class. Right. So it's a very diverse, but everybody pulls together to help each other get through it.
Exactly. And how many students are in Emery's class, or do you guys accept?
We do 54 every year. So it keeps our faculty to student ratio good and keeps our clinical rotations to be the best that we can do. So all our rotations are in the Emory healthcare system, and we use Grady Hospital, which is my old home, but all around Metro Atlanta and all around Georgia, and then the whole Southeast. So we want to keep our rotations excellent. So we keep it at 54.
Okay, great. So before I get to more questions, I wanted to ask, what made you transition from clinical to academics and administrative work as a PA?
I think after 25 years at Grady is a wonderful place, but the work is hard every day. And I mean, Grady is an underserved population, and it's a wonderful population to serve. And after 25 years, I was getting a little tired, and and I was on call being the manager, you get called in for anybody who doesn't show up. So I had night duty, weekend duty, side duty. After a while, I said, academics looks really good because I can set my own schedule, more time for family. So I figured it was worth a try. I tried doing half and half, doing half part-time at Grady, part-time in academics, and that just didn't work because it was like having two full-time jobs. And it was like I couldn't do half-time at Grady. And so I had to make a decision to go one way or the other. So I went with academics and said, I'll live through my students, and basically I will teach. I want to see the next generation and help mentor the next generation of PAs and providers. So my impact went from maybe, 20, 30 patients a day to getting, how many patients would one PA see? Thousands. So 54 times thousands a year is so cool. So I get to input into those 54 who will go out and take care of thousands and thousands and thousands.
Right. That's very true. As someone asked, as far as COVID, I know COVID has changed a lot of things, especially with admissions and applications. Will schools be more forgiving or accepting of students that don't have as many shadowing hours, or their healthcare hours were hindered due to COVID?
I think we're going to take each case by case. We went to accepting all of our, online classes because nobody can go to in-class classes. So even anatomy and the labs all are online. So we've gone to accepting that's fine. The 2,000 hours has kind of been golden to really separate people who do well and who don't. So we've kind of kept true to that. Because people can still get jobs even in COVID. It's, there's so many demand for nursing assistants, scribes, and all that. That's still going on. So we're staying true to that one. But again, I can talk to each school. We don't really care about shadowing hours. We like them. I mean, it's good to see as many PAs as you can, but we don't have any requirement for shadowing. It's more hands-on clinical care. I do think shadowing is valuable because it helps you decide, do you really want to be a PA, or do you want to be a nurse practitioner, or do you want to, it really helps settle if you're going in the right direction. So shadowing is good to do to make sure you're heading in the right direction, but we don't require any shadow hours. It's hard to do in COVID. It's hard to do with HIPAA. You can't get behind the door. That's why you need a job to get behind the door to talk to people like PAs and nurse practitioners and physicians. So that's why the job is so important. You just can't do that from the outside. You really see how medicine works by being on the inside.
Right, exactly. Okay. Someone asked, what did you enjoy most while working at Grady?
I love the patients. I think we serve one of the best patient populations on the planet. And again, I found that my sickle cell patients were basically abused by the medical system. A lot of them were not treated well and would go to emergency rooms in horrible pain and had to wait and weren't believed about their pain. So just, treating people well and to treat them rapidly and to believe them, I think made a world of difference, and patients would be so thankful. So we had a place where they could go where it was safe. They could be seen rapidly. They could be seen by experts who knew what they were doing, and that made their lives better. And to me, that was a huge, huge benefit and a great place to work at. So again, if you like working with underserved populations, Grady's the place. And it's a teaching hospital, so everybody's teaching and everybody's learning, and I love that environment. And the population that comes there is awesome. They really need help, and they're really thankful when you really give them good care. So again, it's a win-win-win.
Right. And Grady is a trauma center. Do the PAs do a trauma rotation, a trauma ED rotation as well?
They do.
Or do they have the option to?
Yes, they do have an elective for surgery if they want to do trauma service. No, that's a hard working service, because Grady is no joke for trauma.
It is not. It's no joke.
But a lot of our students do the emergency room as a part of their required rotations. And if they want to work in the trauma section of the ER, they're welcome to. And the PAs who work there actually rotate through all the different sections of the emergency department. So it's a very popular emergency room for our students, but they can also pick DeKalb, they can also pick Hillendale, they can pick the VA, they can pick even some rural. So it's whatever flavor they would like, but Grady's by far the busiest.
Yeah, it is. And if you guys live in Atlanta, you know that there's a car accident at least every single day on the highway.
Go to Grady.
So you're gonna see, you are going to see some trauma if you or go to any PA school in the Atlanta area. There's always something going on in Atlanta.
Always.
Okay. Someone asked, do you?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I was saying someone asked about being a pharmacy tech, even though that's not necessarily direct, like hands-on. Would that still count for healthcare experience?
It wouldn't count for Emory. That would be non-direct.
Okay.
But we do have people who are PharmDs who actually work on clinical teams. That would count. But as a technician, probably not. Physical therapy tech, medical tech, all of those, emergency department tech, all those do count.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. So pharmacy tech does not count for Emory, guys.
Right.
All right. And then someone asked, what are things to not include in our personal statements? What is a strong person? Yeah, let's first dive into what is a strong personal statement in your opinion. I know you read thousands a year, so what do you think is this good, strong personal statement?
I love to hear a patient, an individual's journey, to say, why am I going down this PA path? And really make it original and own it and make it all about your journey, and your experience. Don't take somebody else's path. Don't take somebody else's story. Take your own story and make it real. And that is the best read. Having read millions, you really see some kind of same one says the same thing over and over and over again. It's like, okay, that came off the internet. But really you see some nice original stories, and those really speak loudly to us when we're reading that this was out of the person's heart.
That is exactly what I told them last week. I am so glad that someone from admissions is actually confirming this. I told them that that's so important to make them to really tell your story and make them feel like they know you. Like it's
Yes.
so important. Yes. You guys hear that? Good. I'm so glad you said that.
Please
and the
do
essay
it.
is so important. Yes, the essay is so important.
Also, some schools have supplemental applications and they'll ask you, why are you picking us? So be sure and do your homework and go to the open houses. I know they're not any real one, but we have like a virtual open house on our website. You can go watch it and just put that in your narrative to the school saying, I watched your virtual open house. I saw all the students doing question and answer. You know, that's very, very important to us saying you did your homework. And you really did check us out rather than just say, you deserve me to come to your school because I'm wonderful. You know, that doesn't help us. But really do your homework and check out the school and show us that you did your homework. That means a lot to us.
Right. I completely agree. Okay. So let's see if there's any more virtual open houses. Yes. Just scrolling through the questions. Phlebotomist would count. Somebody asked if phlebotomist would count for a healthcare experience. Yes.
Yes.
As long as you're touching a patient, it seems like it's physical contact.
Yep, that's a good rule right there. Physical contact. But scribes may not physically contact, but they're hearing, seeing, and doing all. So that's one of the why scribes are awesome.
Yes, definitely agree. All right, and so I guess we can transition now to talking more about your work in hematology. And
sure.
So you said that you saw sickle cell patients in the ED. There was a specific area in the ED for sickle cell patients?
We actually moved all the patients out of the Grady emergency room because they were getting kind of poor care. When you have heart attacks and strokes and everything else coming in, sickle cell was very low on the priority list, so people would wait in pain for hours. So the idea was to take all the sickle cell patients and give them their own emergency room at Grady. And so we moved them all out, gave them their own place, and we had our own staff that was all PA run that knew the patients, got to know them and their families, and got to know when they were sick and when they weren't. So that really made a huge difference because they could have one place to go, not have to wait. We would have a patient with an IV running and have them all tucked in bed within 10 minutes after coming in the unit, and have pain medicines on board. So I don't get that kind of care when I go to emergency room. We made it fast, we made it efficient, and we always would look behind the scenes and saw if the patient had a pneumonia or some kind of illness that would have triggered their pain. So we were very careful to look behind the scenes and say what was going on with them. And, you know, if it was something serious, we just automatically admit them in the hospital, you know, and they'd usually stay 3 or 4 days. But we got 80% better of really severe pain in our unit in 8 hours. And nobody else has been able to pull that off in the country that I know of. So we just gave them a very aggressive fluids and pain management, and the sickle cell patients did better.
Wow. And is that program still here today?
That's still there today. Not any PAs left. Grady wouldn't pay enough money for the PAs, so they all left. So they have residents now, but when we ran it for the first 20 years, it was PA run, and the PAs would staff it morning, noon, and night. And then the salaries for PAs went up, and Grady said nope. So a lot of the PA staff migrated away. So eventually it's just on-call physicians now run it.
Okay, wow. Okay. So can you present like a case to us, like a typical presentation of a sickle cell patient, just so they have an idea of like what they would see working with sickle cell patients?
Yeah, a typical patient, we saw mainly adults in the center at Grady. The children all went to either Eggleston or Scottish Rite. But the adults have nowhere to go. So we typically would see like a 25-year-old come in with severe pain in their bones. They may have chest pain, pain in their abdomen, pain in their back. And they'd be trying to fix it at home, trying to give themselves fluids and pain medicines, but by mouth. And eventually that's not working. So they'd come and see us. By that time, the crisis is already kind of in full swing. We would start an IV and give them fluids, mainly we call it hypotonic water, basically D5W sugar water, in their vein that actually reverses sickling because it pushes water into the red cells and they go from a sickle shape to a nice fluffy donut, which is, here's my donut. I got my donut guy. See, here's donut guy. He's a red cell. Sickle cells look like bananas, so they're hard and like this. And I use props, then, okay. But when you rehydrate them with water, the water goes in the red cell and they go right back to fluffy. And then they start working fine and they don't clog the blood vessels. But when they're sickle shaped, they actually do block blood flow. And then you get severe pain because tissue's dying from the inside out. And you can't see that. From a clinician looking at a patient, you can't see anything going wrong. You can't look inside the body, but they're in intense pain. And if you're a minority and you're in pain and you're saying, I need pain medicine, most ERs are going to say, oh, you're seeking drugs. And so they'll discount it. Where our sickle cell center, we believe our patients. We know they're having pain. So it was no argument. You're going to get full treatment fast. So we would give that IV, we would load them up with the medicines, not enough to knock them out, but basically to get the pain under control. And the medicines we'd watch very carefully to make sure they're breathing and oxygenating, but basically help their pain and help them just to rest and go to sleep. And then we'd monitor them and keep those fluids running. And usually in 8 hours, patients would wake up and say, I feel better. I can go home. And that was a nice thing to see. So if you got on the pain quick and treated it right, patients got better. And they could go home and we give them some pain medicine to take home for a day or so. But if they got worse, to come back in and see us because something else may be going on. And that's all people had to do. If emergency rooms would treat them quickly and look for the causes and learn about sickle cell, they could do the same thing. But we know that's not happening. It's not taught in medical schools very well. A lot of clinicians don't know how to treat it. So when they go to ERs, they're not treated very well and they get labeled. And it's a vicious cycle because the patients feel like they're constantly not being heard.
I definitely agree, and I have seen that. I have treated sickle cell patients. They're very hard to treat because it's, because they're in pain. It's so hard to gauge the pain, and then you feel like, you're giving them all these things, and, it's not treating the pain. And then another thing with ERs is that they have a lot of restrictions on pain medication, with the whole drug crisis. So a lot of them don't give Dilaudid. They don't give, a lot of other pain medications that could potentially help these sicklers. So what do you guys do? I know you said you're, pretty giving as far as pain medications. You guys don't have, I guess, those type of restrictions or have, advocated for them to get those medications? Because it's so hard to do anything with, as far as pain medication. It's like morphine. And then if you try to give Dilaudid, you get flagged. You're like, oh, why are you giving this medication?
Right. No, that's part of the whole, the sickle cell patient is in the middle of this drug war because we're being told you can't use narcotics, but however, we would use another agent that's not a narcotic. It's called nalbuphine, which is used by anesthesiologists, and it blocks pain like an opiate, but it's a non-opiate. It fights. It's not even a controlled drug, but it's an IV medicine that actually works as good as morphine, but keeps you breathing. And again, nobody knows about it.
Yeah, I didn't know about it. Why don't they enact this? Why don't they?
It doesn't make any money. There's no patent, there's no money, nobody knows about it. The only people who really know about it are pediatric anesthesiologists. They use it all the time for pre-op analgesia, and because it's safe. And we did a big study on it. Nobody would publish it. And so all that data kind of got lost, but we treated, again, that was our workhorse medicine, and it worked on 80% of the patients, got them better, and they did well with no side effects. Wow.
What's the name of the medication again? Can you spell it for us?
The trade name is called Nubain, Nubain, but it's nalbuphine is the basically the generic name. And it's a cousin to buprenorphine, which is used to actually treat drug addiction, which is buprenorphine and then naloxone, Suboxone, but it's a good analgesia. So you can use buprenorphine the same way as a pain treatment, and it works marvelously. And right now it's being used for opiate addiction, but it's also used for pain. Just a lot of people don't know how to use it. And it works great, and you don't have that addiction potential, which is amazing.
Wow, I had no idea. Like I'm even learning so much. That's great. And
I teach them pain management too in my courses. So at least our PAs know something about Nubain and buprenorphine.
Yes.
Add that to your pain management.
Thank you for that. Because I mean, I really know as far as treating sickle cell patients, of course, making sure they don't have an infection, the source of, a potential source of their pain, giving pain meds, morphine, fluids, and then determining whether they can or cannot go home. So, and speaking of discharge or admission, at what point do you say, oh, their pain is not getting better, let's admit them? I know, of course, if they have a new pneumonia or a potential infection or blood clot, which can happen to sicklers.
Right.
But as far as like their pain, how far do you go with treating their pain? Do you say, oh, let's just admit them, it's not under control?
We found 8 hours is a golden rule. If we got a patient better in 8 hours, they would do fine. If they were no better in 8 hours, we just said, okay, time to admit. And we found that to be true over 20 years. That 8-hour rule, but most ERs won't treat for 8 hours. You get one shot and you're no better, and then it's boom, you get admitted, or you go home. But we treated for 8 hours, giving the fluids and aggressive pain management. We got the 80% better. So that 8-hour rule was what we used. Or if they had something like you said, a fever or a pneumonia or a clot, that was no joke. We just said, you're admitted, boom. And they would be in the hospital. But for the regular crises, the pain, we got 80% better in 8 hours.
Right. Okay. So before we move on, I guess there's a lot more interview type questions and applications questions, but I just wanted to finish off with the sickle cell. Can you tell us about reticulocyte? Explain to the students about reticulocyte count and what that means.
Sure. Usually you want to know your blood counts. That comes in a test called the complete blood count, or CBC. Tells you how many red cells, white cells, and platelets you got. The reticulocyte count tells you how many teenage red cells just got squirted out of your bone marrow factory. So the reticulocyte tells you how is the factory doing. If you're losing blood cells for whatever reason, you want your reticulocyte count to go up. That tells you that your bone marrow is working. It has the raw materials and it's squirting out brand new red cells just like it should. If the retic count is low and you're also low in your red cell count, something is wrong. The marrow is not doing its job. So that tells you got a marrow shutdown, it's been nuked, or it doesn't have the raw materials. High retic and you're still getting anemic or your blood count's going down, you're either bleeding or you're breaking up red cells too fast. That's called hemolysis. So it's a great test to know which direction am I going. Is the marrow not doing its job, or am I losing blood? So that's why that's the first test I get when I'm trying to figure out why is somebody anemic or their blood count is too low. You want to know what that retic count is, because if it's high, you're losing blood somehow, and you're either breaking up red cells or you're bleeding. Got to check that out. If it's low, you got to do some more testing to see what's wrong with the marrow.
Yes, guys. And I asked him to explain that and mention that, because that is something you're going to have to know not only for PA school, but of course, when you're getting out there and seeing patients, especially those with sickle cell, you want to know what their retic count is.
Absolutely.
So, okay. And finally, the last question I have, because this is a test question. You guys may not even remember this when you actually start PA school. You're going to learn it. But just so when you do see it, that you know, oh, Rodalyn mentioned this. Can you can you also tell us about acute chest syndrome?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, acute chest syndrome. I'm sorry.
Yes. There for the sickle cell patient, they can come into the emergency room short of breath or with coughing or with chest pain. And you're really worried about, okay, do they have a pneumonia or are they actually having those sickled red cells, the ones that look like, okay, the donut or the banana has gone into banana shape and it's damming up inside the lung. And that's called pulmonary infarction, or you're actually blocking blood flow in the lung itself. That's called acute chest syndrome, when the sickled cells are getting clogged in the lung. And so there's no blood circulation in the lung, so oxygen can't get in those red cells to take out to the rest of your body. So it can be fatal, and you need to recognize that pretty quickly. The way we treat that is we give them immediate blood transfusion to give them good normal red cells, but also treat them for infection also. We cover them with antibiotics because it's hard to tell pneumonia from acute chest from the sickling. So usually you use the shotgun approach of antibiotics and blood transfusion can save lives. You can prevent acute chest by giving somebody an incentive spirometer. That's a little blow bottle that you use when you go in the hospital. And that has been proven to decrease acute chest in the hospital. So that's a simple thing you can do to prevent it. So that's kind of a nutshell of acute chest. It's kind of hard to figure out because the x-ray all looks like pneumonia. It's all white stuff in the lungs and you wonder, is that sickling cells or is that an infection? But you treat them both immediately and the patient will do well.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime we see anything new on the chest x-ray, we basically call it that. Like we say, oh, that could be, we refer to it as that, just because we don't know, if it's truly that or not. But if there's a new abnormality on the chest x-ray, then that's likely, we classify it as acute chest syndrome. But I wanted him to, of course, like I said, mention that because I always tell you guys, know when you study or learn, you're going to learn a lot. So know what can kill you, know what can kill a patient. So with sickle cell acute chest syndrome is something specifically that can kill them.
Yes. You don't want to miss that one.
Yes. And you don't want to miss it on the test. Okay. All right. So we have about 20 more minutes left. So I see there were a lot of other questions. I'm just going to go through the questions, and Allan's so nice enough to answer them.
Glad to help. I'm glad you're looking through all those questions.
Thing that you look at during the interview to make someone stand out.
What we've done at Emory is we're going to multiple mini interview format. That means everybody who gets an interview, everybody has an equal chance of getting in. We have bought a package from McMaster. They're the gurus of multiple mini interviews, and they have select questions and how to score them. And so you're giving 5 minutes to respond to a scenario or to a question, and you just talk. We did this all on Zoom this year. No in-person interviews. It was all Zoom. So you went from Zoom room to Zoom room and had to talk. And what you responded to was scored on a 0 to 5 scale. And then the high scores are the ones we offered seats to. So it was very straightforward. We like multiple mini interviews because the data shows it's reproducible. It eliminates implicit bias as much as possible. And we do want to remove bias from our interview process. So if you get to one of our and get invited to an interview, it's going to be a multiple mini interview. In fact, some PA programs are now using an online version of this called Casper. And we're looking at that also as being a kind of a screening tool. It's all mini interviews that check your basically highlights, are you resilient? Are you ethical? Are you moral? All those kind of things are the questions that come at you. So you can Google MMI, or multiple mini interviews. Now there's a lot of information out on the web of what these are like. And we found that the data really supports doing that instead of just having a chat with some people, because there's no data that supports that works.
Oh, okay. Wow. Do you guys do group interviews as well?
I mean, we did up to 24 people in one session, and it was all multiple mini interviews. And then they had a group session with me, and a student or two, just talking about life as a PA student. So it's more of a get to know us. At the same time, we're doing those multiple mini interviews in groups to get to know you. And we'd like to bring it back to campus when COVID goes away. So get that vaccine. So when that happens, we'll bring it back to on campus.
Yes. Yes, the interview process sounds great. I've never heard of the multiple mini interview. I'll definitely look into that. And you guys at least know the style for Emory, if anyone's interested in applying there.
Yeah, I'd say about all the Canadian medical schools do it, half of the U.S. medical schools, and half of the PA programs now are moving that direction. So it is becoming a main thing to know, because I think, again, data shows and the research shows it really does work and helps pick candidates very fairly without the bias. So that's all good.
Oh, wow. There you have it, guys. Like, Allan's dropping gems tonight. So you know that's something to look into to help strengthen your interview. So multiple mini interviews. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm not sure if I asked this already, but what are the 3 most important things on an application in your opinion?
I think the big things that score the most points for us is your clinical experience. What did you do? Your community service, because Emory loves giving back to the community. We have a farm worker project that we go take care of Georgia farm workers out in the fields in South Georgia, like a mission trip. We have a Good Samaritan clinic in town that our students run. And a lot of other things. Porta de Salud, it's a Hispanic outreach to do health screening. So we would love to see you volunteer and actually giving back to medically underserved populations, because we do that as a program. So that's very important for us. And I'd say the next biggest thing for us is your narratives. Those get ranked high. So please write a good narrative, be thoughtful. We also score if you did leadership. Did you help with a pre-PA club? What did you do in student government? Any honors you may have had? List all those too. They're very important.
Okay, thank you so much for that, because a lot of students worry about their GPAs, especially non-traditional students or students that, didn't do well when they first started college and their GPA is not as high. What advice can you give to students that have either multiple C's, drop classes, or, transition from, not knowing what they want to do, then discovering the PA profession? What can you tell them?
Yeah, I'd say for Emory, it's a 3.0 science in total. But really, the people who get interviews are about 3.4, 3.5, because GPA does predict your success in PA school. It's one of the best predictors. I would say if your GPA is low, below a 3, and you need to really pull that up, it takes a lot of classes. What I recommend to people who are in that category is think about becoming a nurse. What? Yes, become a nurse. You can take an accelerated nursing course. It's a 1 year. You can have any degree whatsoever. They will take you and make you an RN. There's such a demand for RNs now. You will get a great paying job. You will get excellent experience, and you can up your GPA with clinical courses. I really don't want to see you taking courses that don't help your career just to raise your GPA. So if you want to spend the time, I would say nursing school in 1 year would be awesome. Then you can do two paths, NP or PA. You've got two doors open for you. And I work right alongside NPs. We do the same job side by side. I like PA better, I'm just saying, because we're more flexible. We can change jobs like that. Nurse practitioners, they're locked into their whatever specialty they graduated in, where PAs can migrate. But we get the same salary. We're doing the same job. So really, I think being an RN is smart, and it can up your GPA, and it gives you a chance to go either way. And so that's what I recommend to people who really need to get that GPA up. And it's a 1 year commitment. So it's kind of the best bang for your buck.
That's interesting. That's really interesting that you said that. Actually, yeah, right now is a great time to go into nursing, like especially during this COVID era. And if you choose to do travel work, like you go graduate, do some travel work, and you'll make a lot of money to prepare for PA school, because you will not be working while in PA school.
Right, and it's the highest level of clinical experience. We grade what you do in your clinical time, and that is one of the highest levels. So that would rank you very strong at any PA program, but also any nurse practitioner program. There's more of them to go to than there are PA programs. But really, if you want to go PA route, that would be a kind of get you right in the front door.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's great. That is great to hear. He's giving some great advice, you guys. This session has been amazing. I think one of my favorites. I think my favorite to date.
It's been my favorite.
Thank you so much, Allan. Okay. Yes, from a nurse, you can become a PA. You can still become a PA while having a nursing license.
Yes, we usually have 3 or 4 RNs in our PA class every year. They've decided they want PA training more than the NP training, because they want to be more specialized, maybe go into surgery or ICU care, and the PA training is a little more robust, because we do over 2,000 hours of clinical rotations, where an NP is only like 500. So you get a lot more training behind you. But again, I like, nurse practitioner and PAs are applying for the same jobs.
Right, they are. And what are some common mistakes you see from applicants?
I mean, the ones that I see are the ones that just don't do their homework or don't read the instructions. Every school's got a list of what they need, and you really got to go through each one carefully and follow the instructions to the T. So those are the ones that if I see they don't even fill out the forms correctly, or they don't write a narrative for Emory. They just say, they just skip it. That's a big no. I mean, that's a big no attention to detail. That person's not going to go further. So those are the biggest ones I've seen, is just not paying attention and not filling in all the blanks, not doing what we asked you to do. And so that's a hard stop for us.
Thank you. That's really easy. Just follow the directions. That's really easy. And of course, know about the PA profession. Know what your scope of practice. Know what's going to happen when you actually start working. I mean, of course, you're going to learn a lot when you get there in the field, but know the surface. Know at least, just that the PA is supervised by the physician, not works under the physician. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the basics I think I'd want to, and you get to know that by talking to a lot of PAs and asking them about their jobs and how that works for them.
Yes. Okay, more questions. We have about 10 minutes left.
Sure. Hit me.
I did have a question about, someone said, as far as graduating or starting PA school straight out of undergrad and not having as much healthcare experience, but offsetting that with GPA or community service.
As long as you have 2001 hours, we'll do a full evaluation of your application. So we do have people getting in with 2,000 hours. The average in our PA class is about 5,000 hours. That's taking all comers, like people from a career, being an EMT or paramedic, but we do have people coming right out of school now because people are working during school and have their goals set on PA from the get-go and have prepared. The president of our class just 2 years ago got in with 2,010 hours. He was president of the PA class. He was the youngest person in the class, and now he's rocking ICUs around Atlanta, and he's teaching right now. He's adjunct professor. So can I say yes?
Yes. Nice. And how diverse is a very good question. How diverse is Emory's PA program?
What was the question? Last word.
Diversity.
Diverse, yes. We really want to have a diverse class, and again, our population is diverse. I'd say in the last class that was admitted this fall, the non-white PA class is 39%. So people are designated non-Caucasian, or it was over 39%, which is speaks loudly to us. That's a rich class. We got people coming from all different backgrounds. We'll go back and serve many different populations. So for us, that's very important.
Yes.
So we keep wanting to increase our diversity. We keep looking at how to recruit in all different communities. We reach out to schools, like doing this webcast. We do several things with minority-based schools, just to let them know about the PA profession, because again, a lot of people haven't even heard yet that PA is the way. So we get the word out there, but it is a big deal for us, and we really, really do value diversity.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think like one big problem, just of course with diversity, is just not enough people knowing about the PA profession. When I went to PA school in 2014, and it's a lot different now. A lot more people are applying, but like you said, you're going to different conferences and events like this, like webinars, to discuss about the profession, so more, especially underserved populations, can know about it. Because part of the reason why it may not be as diverse is because people don't know about the profession, especially the minorities. So the more they know, then the more people apply and have a chance of being accepted as well.
Absolutely. We just got to get the word out how good PA is.
Right. Yeah. Especially, I think that's especially important in high school, because now in college, sure, but I feel like there's not enough career days. PAs going to career days. So when you actually graduate high school, you know that, oh, I want to be a PA, rather than finding out in college, oh, I want to be a PA, but now I got to do all this stuff to get to PA. Take a gap year, do all, get the healthcare experience. I think getting the younger crowd to know more about the profession is very important as well.
Yeah, we're actually reaching out to high schools, STEM high schools that have health careers in mind, and we've done seminars for them too. So we're reaching down in high school level. I think that's a cool thing, because it gets people thinking about it very early. Yeah,
definitely. Because I didn't know about the career until I was like 19, 20.
So. Same with me. I was 19 when I figured this out, but it was not very well advertised.
Right. It's so cool that you graduated. What year was it? 1970?
79. Yeah, I started. Wow. I started work at Grady on January 1st, 1980. So that was right after graduation. Stepped right into Grady.
Wow, that is amazing. That's crazy. I wasn't even thought of being born yet.
Well, it's nice to see. Even then, I was, it wasn't a known thing, and there were only like 5 PAs at Grady. Now there's hundreds. So it's really changed for the better.
It's amazing. It's such a great career. Like, it's only been around since the 60s, and we've made so many strides, so much progress in the past, 4, 5 decades?
Yeah. And it's getting better. It keeps getting better and better.
It is. Does Emory accept international students?
Yes, we do. We actually have one from China and one from Japan in our most recent class. So yes, you can apply. And we do accept international. We're a private school, so really we don't have a quota for Georgia. We take people from all over the USA. We mostly Georgia because you know about Emory and the Emory healthcare. But we take people from everywhere and international also.
Okay. Nice. Okay. And the last question, well, I guess it's not the last question, but the question I have is about the GRE. I know different schools have different GRE cutoffs, but how important or heavy or how much weight does the GRE hold for Emory?
It's kind of mid-range. It's not that important. It doesn't predict a lot. If we see a very low verbal score, we get a little worried, especially if English is a second language. We may have somebody remediate English. But other than that, it's not. We don't have a cutoff, but we have our kind of averages of what our students who are accepted have. And if you're around the ballpark, within 5 or 10 around there, you'll do just fine. It doesn't play a huge role in our admissions. It's a little piece, but not a big piece.
Great. I'm glad you said that because so many students stress out about it. So many do. So many email me about it. And I'm so glad you said that. Of course, study for it, but there's so much more important things like healthcare experience. So,
yes.
Do most people stay in the Atlanta area after graduating?
I'd say about half. Many people come from all over and they say, well, I'll never stay in Atlanta. Then they get to see Atlanta, it's not so bad. And then they get job offers when they're doing rotations and they say, I love Atlanta. Because really, when we get out on rotations, you're in a healthcare system where they need PAs and they'll say, hey, we like you. Would you like a job? So a lot of people get offers and stay in Atlanta. I'd say about half the class stays in the metro area. And there's so many jobs around the Emory healthcare system and Grady. And so if you like Atlanta, yeah, there's plenty of work to do. So, but people may go back home to their home states and they have something waiting for them there. So, like I say, we recruit from all over. But half the people do stay in Atlanta.
He did say all rotations are within the Emory healthcare system, right?
Not all.
Allan? Oh, not all. Okay.
I mean, the majority are. So
okay.
You really want to make sure your PA program can make sure you have excellent clinical sites. And we have all of the Emory healthcare system to play in, which are the major hospitals. But we have Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. We have a rotation at MD Anderson for cancer care, Yale for surgery. We have a lot of electives all over the U.S. and a lot around other systems like Kennesaw and Piedmont Healthcare. So we're not tied just to Emory, but we have alumni working in all those different areas. So we have good preceptors all over.
Great. Thank you. And I think this is the final question, guys. It's 7:58. If I missed any questions, feel free to email me. And so the last question is, what has been the most challenging aspect of working as a PA? And you can answer both as academic, in the academics or clinical side.
Most challenging. I would say maintaining work-life balance. I think medicine can consume you. But as a PA, I took time off even while working at Grady. I went part-time 80% so I could come home for my kids' games and plays and do all of that, where a lot of the physicians just couldn't. They were working so many hours. But having that work-life balance was important to my wife and I. So we were able to take our vacations and raise our kids and do things important to us besides medicine. We could play and we could take care of patients and do medicine, but not have it consume us. And I'd say the same in academics. It's just work-life balance, and it was the right change for the right time. And my next job will be fully retired, but I'm having too much fun. So this is like semi-retired, because it's not a fast pace like Grady, but it's very rewarding to teach. So when that gets to be no fun, then it's time to retire. But right now it's too fun.
Yes, it's so much fun. And I'm sure now teaching, being able to pay it forward is amazing. And especially doing things like this, speaking to the future generations, giving us all advice. Thank you so much. It's 8:00, guys. This has been so great. Thank you so much, Allan, for this session, for giving us your advice, expertise, insight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone else did too. This was a great way to kick off the new year. Happy New Year, guys. Thank you so much, Allan. I would love to stay in contact with you.
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll come back anytime, so just put me to work.
Yes. I sure will. I'll hold you to that. Thank you. It was extremely an honor to have you, especially hearing all your about all your experience, and it's so great. Thank you for all that you've done over the past 30 plus years. Everyone's saying thank you in the comments, so it definitely does not go unnoticed.
So everybody, PA is the way. Just keep that up.
Yes. PA is the way. PA is the way. All right. So we are going to end things off. Allan, is there a way to finally, just in case students have more questions, is it just Emory's website or an email to contact admissions?
Please just email me directly. I don't mind.
Email. Oh, you don't? Okay, I didn't want to have them bombard you with emails, but okay, thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Share my email, and I'm on the Emory website. I think if you want to learn about Emory, just go to Google Emory PA, and you'll land right on our website. If you want to see all of our requirements, there's a virtual open house and even a virtual tour. You can go and watch it at 2 a.m. It's okay.
Oh, Allan, you are amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And Happy New Year.